Good morning and happy Mother's Day. My name's Hannah Smith. Four years ago, we started our journey as a youth group. We went to confirmation and we made everlasting friendships. We laughed together, we cried together. Friendships grew and still continue today. Although we had never been really that close before, we became a family. We listened to each other and we gave our testimonies. We loved and didn't criticize. We learned about the three-legged stool and saw Miss Amanda cry many times. We started our walk with Christ together. 4 years ago, we met the bishop for the first time. We walked up the altar together and we were blessed and became part of our church. 4 years ago, we couldn't wait to get older. 3 years ago, we walked into a big high school together, confused about who we wanted to be, but we stood by each other. We learned more and more about each other, and we grew closer and closer. 3 years ago, we gathered at Hershey's house and sang and prayed. We got to hear his amazing wisdom, and we got to eat the delicious pizza he bought for us. We sang together in the youth room as Dan played to his guitar. We participated in lock-ins, and we listened to Miss Debbie and Mr. Bruce in Sunday school. We learned to get along with each other whether we were mad at each other or not. We figured out each other's pet peeves, and we joked about them. 3 years ago, we still couldn't wait to get older. 2 years ago, we became bigger dogs at school. We were no longer the stupid s'mores. We were juniors. 2 years ago, we paid more attention to Father Lowell during his sermon. We learned to actually listen to what he was saying. 2 years ago, we would chase London and Charles around Wednesday night church as we tried to listen to the homily. We still attended youth group. We could all drive, at least the ones of us that wanted to. 2 years ago, we experienced what it was like to lose a dear friend in a car wreck. We talked about going to parties, and we expanded our friendships. 2 years ago, we realized that we could always depend on each other. 2 years ago, we smiled at the cameras when we went to prom, and we ate expensive meals. We went to Wednesday night church the week prior and got the speech from Miss Amanda about not drinking and driving and how we needed to be safe. Once again, she cried. 2 years ago, we started taking the ACT. We would come to Wednesday night church and do our highs and lows. The low would always have to do with school or the ACT. 2 years ago, we started to realize that life was flying by, but we still wanted to grow up. A year ago, we walked into Fayetteville High School as seniors, the big dogs on campus. We used way too many hashtags, and we got in trouble way too many times at Wednesday night church for being on Instagram and Twitter. We took one too many selfies, and we listened to one too many Miley Cyrus songs. A year ago, Miss Amanda and Mr. Dan were spending $200 once a month at Orange Leaf for us. Thanks, by the way. We stacked our cups up to our chins, which was probably not the best idea. We started to apply to colleges, and we learned that senioritis is real. We experienced the snow apocalypse of 2013 and 2014. We were so happy to be seniors that year because we didn't have to go to school as many days. We got to go to our senior prom, and we had the night of our lives. Us girls decided that we didn't really care what we looked like anymore. Nike shorts were really all we wore. We were growing up. In a few short days, we will be graduating. We will be starting over as adults. We will walk across the stage at Bud Walton and smile as we grab our diplomas. Our moms will cry, and our dads will get teary. And of course, Miss Amanda will be standing in the stands bawling. She will be hoping that she taught us right from wrong. We will receive a lot of money that we will directly go spend at Chick-fil-A. We're starting to realize that we are going to miss each other and that we're not going to see each other as often, and that scares us. We will miss the Vallarta dinners and the bowling trips. We will miss going to camp, and we will miss the ride home when we all smell like sweat. We will miss each other because we are growing up. In a year, we will be coming home for summer break. We will realize that we will miss each other. We will walk into church and we will go with our families and we will see everyone. We will hug each other and we will cry. We will catch up and listen to Father Lowell's sermon. We will break the bread and the wine with each other and we will go to the altar and pray once again. In 1 year, I will miss all of you dearly, and I will miss all the jokes and the tears. Within the next year, I will walk back into my church, and I will worship my God. In a year, I will be growing up. In 10 years, we will be getting married, and we will be having babies. We will be bringing our little families into church, and we will be sticking them in the nursery with Kate, and we will attend our service. We will once again drink wine and eat bread. We will remember how we hated it when we were 15 years old. We will sit back in our pews, and we will remember the memories that we made together. We will remember all the ice cream we ate and all the spaghetti we threw at each other. We will remember the Christmas pageants and the Easter egg hunts. 10 years from now, we will remember how we learned to develop a strong bond with our families and with Christ. I want to thank my community and my parents for helping me become the young woman I am today.
Good morning. My name is Amanda Ghana, and thank you for having me. In 2003, my grandmother told me that my mother died. That was the first time I lost something. When we lose something that is precious to us, we are left with a feeling of sadness. I was sad, and I felt alone. In our family house, all the women are my mothers, the men, my fathers, the boys and girls, my brothers and sisters. When I was hungry, they fed me. Sad, they comforted me. And when I was wrong, they corrected me. There are no words such as cousin, uncle, aunt, or stepmother. We are all family. The women sing while they work, the children sing while they play. We live in a harsh environment, and sometimes with little to eat. And yet, we are very happy. We are happy because we have family. Family is everything to my people. On December 2006, I was playing with my neighbors when my father brought a new member to my family. He brought a woman with yellow skin and long flat hair. He had brought me a new mother. I was shocked at first and wondered why she didn't look like us. And then I heard she was from another country. I was really suspicious. But as time went by, days, weeks, months, I began to call her mother, and I have ever since. I was 12 years old when I left my village of Zara in Bolgatanga, Ghana. I left behind all the things that were familiar to me, the round-shaped huts, the yellow and brown uniform of the schoolgirls, and the screams of my grandmother to get off that tree. I left behind my way of life. I left my family to go to America. Gifty came along too. She was a little scared. But I was scared too. I had no idea of what was waiting me in America, except that everything was free and there were no black people. After all, it's a white people's land. When we arrived, we attended a Catholic church because the people in my village were Catholic. My mother thought it would make us feel like we were at home, but it turned out a little different. I hoped for a new door to open at a Catholic church, but it was slammed in my face instead. I don't know why. Maybe it was because I didn't have hair and was bald, or the way I spoke, or I stared a lot. It took a while, but we found St. Paul's. We found a new door that led to our new family, and I found my new family house at St. Paul's. Then I had many mothers and fathers again, and many brothers and sisters. Father Lowell, Father Chuck, Father Hershey, and Father Dan. Many mothers like Suzanne, Amanda, Emily, Linda, Betsy, and also brothers and sisters in my choir and in all my classes. Gifty and I have literally grown up in this church. Even though it has only been 5 years, they were very formative years. This new family has led us in the right direction, molded us into the young women we are today. They have installed our Christian values: faith, hope, love, justice, joy, service, and peace. While the wonderful schools here educated us academically, St. Paul's educated us on spirituality and how to live a life as a good shepherd. And then there was singing. Music enriched our lives in West Africa, and here there was also singing. Charlie, thank you so much for bringing music back into my life. And thank you for filling our mouths with laughter, our tongues with singing, and making melody in our hearts. Through this new door in my life, I have found more than I ever hoped for. I have had the privilege of having 2 families, my Bolgatanga family, and my St. Paul's family, something that most people will never experience. I am finishing high school, a privilege that many girls in my village will never have. I am going to college, a privilege that the girls in my village will never be able to have. I'm going to be attending the United States Naval Academy, a privilege that many Americans cannot experience. I have taken advantages of all the opportunities that America has to offer, and hopefully I can offer back an ounce of what I have received by one day helping defend this wonderful nation and protecting those who cannot protect themselves. Thank you to my St. Paul's family, and to my dad for bringing me to America, and to my mom for opening the new door. Thank you.
Hello, my name is James Joseph Haas. I thank you all for letting me speak here today. In 4 days, I will be walking across the stage at Bud Walton Arena to receive my diploma from Fayetteville High School. I have learned a lot during my time at Fayetteville High School. I have learned that I have a dislike for English, but I am quite good at it. I've learned that economics might as well be a foreign language to me because I still don't understand anything that has gone on in that class the past 2 semesters. I've learned that in almost every class, the teacher teaching matters much more than the material covered in that class. But the most important things I've learned during my high school career, for the most part, have not been learned during a class or during a late-night study session before a major exam. The most important lessons I've learned over the past few years have stemmed from all of my experiences outside the massive buildings that reside on Martin Luther King Boulevard next to the University of Arkansas. The group of buildings that has had the greatest impact on me over these past few years is on the corner of Dixon Street and East Avenue. These buildings are, of course, St. Paul's Episcopal Church. St. Paul's has not been the only church I've ever attended or belonged to. Throughout my life, I've been baptized a Baptist, confirmed a Methodist. I've attended Catholic Mass with my dad and stepmom. I've also been confirmed an Episcopalian. I list this last because my list follows the chronological order of events. But I also list it last because being confirmed an Episcopal has had the greatest effect on me. I went through the confirmation process at an age when I was old enough to have a decent idea of the teachings of the church. In confirmation at St. Paul's, I learned not only what we believe, but also why we believe it. I will admit that some of the concepts flew over my head, but a few of them stuck. The concept that most resonated with me was the three-legged stool, which we use as an ethical and spiritual guideline. The concept of the three-legged stool has helped me in regard to my faith and spiritual life. If you don't know, the three legs of the stool are tradition, scripture, and reason. The three legs of the stool allow us to question our faith. I don't at all mean this in a negative way. We don't question our faith because we're unfaithful. We question it because through questions we sometimes reach answers, or at least educated guesses. The products of these questions don't make our faith lacking in any way. They actually do quite the opposite. These questions make our faith much stronger because we don't blindly follow our faith, we choose to follow it. To me, the three legs act as a shepherd because it helps guide me to questions. These questions are like gates. With the shepherd's help, the gates open to reveal lush, green pastures of assurance and confidence in my faith. St. Paul's has helped me to bud spiritually. Here I've learned how to take a step back, look at everything presented to me, and choose what I think to be true. This, however, is not the only thing that St. Paul's has helped me to do. It also helped shape me into the man I am today. One of the best support groups I've had during my years of attending St. Paul's has been GT, or Guy Time. For those of you not familiar with GT, it happens most Sunday afternoons. It is our church's small group for male, junior high, and senior high students. I've met some of my best friends at GT: Ben Harrison, Joshua Daniel, Trace Tucker, Levi Finn, Patrick Reagan, Zach Ryan, Blake Meldrum, and Jamie Morrison. GT has been a source of support throughout my high school life. GT has been a place where I can go and hang out, mess around with friends, but it's also been a shepherd to me. GT is a place where I can talk with my peers and some adults about things that are going on in my life. At GT, I can ask about problems I'm facing. GT hasn't helped me as much as a three-legged stool in my spiritual life, but it has been invaluable in my personal life. One of the things I am most grateful for at St. Paul's has been the youth usher program at the 845 service. When I started attending services here, I enjoyed them, but I wasn't very involved during the service. Being an usher helped me to meet people in the church, but it also allowed me to be part of the service. I felt like this was my church and I belonged here. I needed the church and the church needed me. Being an usher was my gateway to the church community. Through the usher program, I met other kids my age in the church. These friendships led me to attending more and more church activities. I started to show up for Sunday school. Then I showed up for a few youth events. These youth events brought me to Wednesday night faith stories. This started me going to the Wednesday night service. Before I knew it, I was at St. Paul's twice a week for more than 3 hours a visit. This church has always been a welcoming home to me. My experience at St. Paul's has been extraordinary. I've never known an unfriendly person or met anyone here who's not ready to help out. If I were to list all the people by name who have helped me in this church, reading that list would take up a full service. I cannot express my appreciation enough for the time people have spent working with me and the other youth here. I would like you to know that your time has made a difference. I do want to take a moment to thank my parents. My dad and stepmom have always supported me, and this has been a blessing. My mom was the main reason I came to St. Paul's. She has been the strongest influence on my life so far, for all of my life so far. For this, I am truly grateful. Without her, I wouldn't be half the man I am today. Mom, I wish you a happy Mother's Day. This church has helped to shape me in the man I am today. Earlier today in the gospel, we heard the parable of the Good Shepherd. To me, St. Paul's has been my shepherd. In truth, the church has been more than just a mere shepherd. It has not only opened gates that reveal green pastures of assurance and confidence in my faith, but it has also taught me how to do this for others. I'm sad to be leaving St. Paul's. However, I won't be leaving as the boy who first arrived here. I have learned so much more since then. When I leave St. Paul's, I will be leaving as a shepherd. Amen.
O God, give us an inquiring mind and a discerning heart, the courage to will and to persevere, a spirit to know and to love you, and the gift of joy and wonder in all your works. Amen. Please be seated. Here are a few verses from the second chapter of Exodus, verses 1 through 10. Now a man from the house of Levi went and took as his wife a Levite woman. The woman conceived and bore a son, and when she saw that he was a fine child, she kept him for 3 months. When she could not hide him longer, she took for him a basket made of bulrushes and daubed it with bitumen and pitch. She put the child in it and placed it among the reeds by the riverbank. And his sister stood at a distance to know what should be done to him. Now the daughter of Pharaoh came down to bathe at the river, while her young women beside her walked on the river. She saw the basket among the reeds and sent her servant woman, and she took it. When she opened it, she saw the child, and behold, the baby was crying. She took pity on him and said, "This is one of the Hebrews' children." Then his sister said to Pharaoh's daughter, "Shall I go and call you a nurse from the Hebrew women to nurse the child for you?" And Pharaoh's daughter said, "Go." So the girl went and called the child's mother. And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Take this child away and nurse him for me, and I will give you your wages." So the woman took the child and nursed him. When the child grew older, she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. She named him Moses because, she said, "I drew him out of the water." Like many faculty members at the University of Arkansas, I spent all day yesterday at commencement ceremonies, the all-university one in the morning and the Fulbright College one in the afternoon. 6 hours of sitting through such ceremonies makes for a long day, but I never begrudge my duty to do so. I enjoy the chance to don this lovely burnt orange academic robe, paying homage to the big university in Texas where I earned my PhD, and whose name I'm scarcely permitted to utter in this old Southwest Conference town. I resonate with the joy of parents, grandparents, children, spouses, partners, and friends as their loved ones walk at commencement and then join the walk of alumni at the University of Arkansas. But most of all, I love the part of the ceremony where we sing the alma mater. The University of Arkansas has a particularly beautiful one, I think, distinguished by this sublime passage. Beacon of hope in the ways dreary lighted, pride of our hearts that are loyal and true, for those who adore you unto one who adores us, Mother of mothers, we sing unto you. Mother of mothers. How fitting. What a nice bit of serendipity that today we honor not only those who graduated this spring from any institutions, but also our mothers. Now, my academic training is in the history and theory of rhetoric, the study of how effective speaking and writing have been conceived and taught from antiquity to the present. Both by nature and by nurture, I'm something of a word nerd. So this morning, I'd like us to consider two bits of language, two-word phrases that we use regularly, perhaps without giving them much conscious attention, but that are central to this dual honoring that we do here today. The first phrase we've already heard, alma mater, which literally translates as nourishing mother. When the ancient Romans used this phrase to refer to such deities as Ceres, the goddess of grain, and Cybele, an all-purpose fertility of nature goddess, today the term has come to be associated almost solely with education, and that began to happen as early as the 11th century. Though perhaps not as famous as its later counterparts in England, Oxford and Cambridge, the oldest university in the world is the University of Bologna in Italy. Around 1088, scholars and teachers in that city began to coalesce into an entity that came to be called a university, and from the start, Bologna's motto, inscribed on its crest, was Alma Mater Studiorum, nourishing mother of studies. Since that time, alma mater has been used to refer to any institution from which one has graduated, but it normally designates the college or university where one earned a baccalaureate degree. The second phrase is mother church, a two-word term that literally refers to the principal church of a particular Christian denomination, Canterbury Cathedral being the mother church of Anglicanism, for example. But more metaphorically, it designates the church as a spiritual, nourishing parent. And an 11th century homily captured in a manuscript housed at Corpus Christi College in Oxford declares that penitents must be cleared by their bishop before they are permitted to return to, quote, the bosom of their mother church. And by the 14th century, the image of the church as a spiritual mother is thoroughly imbued in English literature. In the poem, A Dream Vision, called Piers Plowman, the protagonist, named Will, encounters a beautiful lady whom he doesn't recognize and who frightens him. She approaches Will while he's looking down on a valley full of people who are busy working and wandering, seemingly for no reason. The woman asks him, "Son, why are you sleeping? Do you see these people and how busy they are about their maze? Most people that pass through this earth have no honor in this world, and they desire nothing better." When Will confesses that he doesn't know who she is, she tells him, "You ought to know me. I'm Holy Church. I was the first one to receive you, and I taught you the faith." Will has failed to recognize his own spiritual mother. She goes on to remind him of all of her teachings, not only about theology, but about economic justice. For example, she wants to reform both church and society by eliminating bribery and the profit motive. Throughout all of her lessons, the refrain is the same. When all treasures are tried, truth is the best. Now, I hope these two phrases speak to us, not only to us, but to each other on this Baccalaureate/Mother's Day Sunday. Those of you who have finished any stage of your formal education this spring, high school diploma, associate, bachelor's, or graduate degree, have every right to feel proud of your accomplishment, and we honor you. I hope you've acquired whatever skills and credentials you and others think will help you advance to whatever is the next plateau for you: employment, further study, travel, and so on. But I hope as well that you can recognize some other ways that you are different now than you were when you started this phase of education that you've recently completed. I hope you can look back and recall a time in your education when you were confronted by the shock of the new, challenged by a concept that you really had to wrap your mind around to grasp. If school has been completely full of pat answers, rote memorization, stand and deliver recitations of someone else's accepted wisdom, well, I won't say it wasn't worth the money you or someone else paid for it, but I'm tempted to. Of course, some education is relatively stern, black and white, even authoritarian, and I've been known to occasionally demonstrate some of those characteristics myself in my 39 years in the classroom. But the folks who dole it out might be fairly characterized as parental. And at the risk of not doing justice to good fathers, let me hazard that teachers who solely deliver the "here are the rules, here are the facts, here's what you need to memorize and reproduce" courses are paragons of paternalism. The educators, in contrast, who introduce you to these challenging concepts, who say to you in so many words, "Don't be afraid, look at it deeply, ponder it from all sides, don't act right away, but just think about it." Those are the models of maternalism, no matter what their gender, and they are the true manifestations, I think, of alma mater, the nourishing mother of studies. And similarly with Mother Church. I suppose there are those who see the church as overwhelmingly fundamental, doctrinal, rule-oriented, inflexible in all its prescriptions. I imagine one could find adherents of this viewpoint on both sides of the pulpit. Let me hazard, moreover, that some people's image of the church as such a stern parent, as a my way or the highway authoritarian, is the primary reason that cavernous churches largely sit empty on Sunday mornings, and for that matter, on most nights of the week as well. Why come to church if you know it all already? And you're preached at by someone who not only knows it all, but knows more of all of it than you do. But to me, that's not Mother Church. Like alma mater, Mother Church can say to people who approach it, "Here's a thought, here's a concept, here's an idea that might take you slightly out of your comfort zone. Don't reject it, think about it. Don't act right away, ponder it, talk to others about it, then do the right thing." When you embrace these dual ideas of alma mater and Mother Church as nourishing mothers of study, contemplation, intellectual and spiritual ferment and growth, you can add one more concept that fits with both of them: continuing education. Those of you who are graduating this spring, I presume, know that your school, college, or university will continue to do, ideally, whatever alma mater does even after you leave, to generate challenging ideas, concepts that might take folks initially out of their comfort zone, and to put those ideas into play so they get a fair and open hearing. If some specific action follows, if the institution supports the creation of new jobs, for example, helps find cures for diseases, improves the economy, all well and good, those actions don't stand in opposition to alma mater's primary mission. They're outgrowths of it. But the main goal must be precedent. The introduction and consideration of new ideas must come first. And alumni who want to be faithful to alma mater can be so by continually participating in and supporting this goal, this process, this mission. Whether that participation and support takes the simple form of reading a book that jostles your mind, or something more complicated like mentoring an intern from alma mater and introducing him or her to the myriad complexities of life beyond the university. Similarly, those of you who are here today, whether you're a regular at St. Paul's, a newcomer, a visitor in town for graduation or Mother's Day, you can certainly embrace the same mission for Mother Church. Now, one could come to church solely for answers, but is that really a legitimate option? When you come to church only for answers, don't you generally know those answers already and are just seeking the comfort of hearing them from someone with a strong parental, perhaps even paternal authority? Why not see Mother Church as your spiritual nourisher, as the parent who holds you, embraces you, helps you encounter the shock of the new, the concept that initially takes you out of your comfort zone, that idea that you know deep inside that you must come to grips with? I began this morning with the story of Jochebed, the mother of Moses, one of the least known, but I think most distinguished mothers in the Bible. Think of what she did. When she thought her son was going to be killed, she fashioned a lifeboat for him, waterproofed it thoroughly, and set it adrift in the Nile. She left the scene, but didn't venture too far away, and she sent her daughter, Moses' sister, to see if and how the child might possibly survive. And then she just happened to be around to nurse Moses into adulthood, preparing him to become a leader of the Hebrew people. What a model for mothers. What an exemplar for alma mater. What an image for Mother Church. Graduates, you will be told time and again this spring that your life is just beginning. And one thing that is definitely just beginning is requests, pleas, campaigns for your support. Some will ask for money, Others might simply ask for your time, energy, and talents. So, when alma mater calls, answer the phone. It's your mother. And when Mother Church calls, answer the phone. It's your mother. And oh, if you still have her on this earth, and if you're not seeing her today at church or for a meal, call your mother. Amen.